2082 days. And we are in March 16th, 2026. Okay, let's get, no, April, sorry. Gosh, did I just say March? April 16th, 2026. And we are on day 2082 since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, taken downstairs to the arms room, which is a soundproof room, and they took his life, and they seditiously conspired in doing all of that and to remove his body, steal his body off of Fort Bliss, and traffic it to Mexico, and then conspired to cover it up. And one of those that conspired to cover it up, and I saw it right in front of my own eyes. You know, you see it and you're like, he's covering up. He's conspiring with people. He's protecting people. And I got to know him pretty well because I spoke to him for hours and hours, and his name is CID Agent Marlon Soto Hernandez. He told me himself his name is, his mother liked Marlon Brando, and he was named after him, Marlon Soto Hernandez. And he needs to be facing the death penalty. That's what he needs to be facing. And after learning his connections with Judge Marlene Gonzalez Hernandez, you know, you might think, oh my gosh, well, and I forgot to say that he was the lead agent on our son's murder case. That's why I spoke to him for hours. And that's all. Well, let's just say he has a lot to worry about. He has a lot to worry about. Because, you know, when you learn all about these connections and what they were doing, you can say, oh my gosh, you know, I just need to have one big cussing fit or something like that, right? And get really angry. But that's not what happened today or these years, right? These years, finding out all the different connections. It is, okay, let's identify the crimes. Let's document these crimes. Let's file these crimes over and over and over again. Preserve the evidence, and he should preserve all of his evidence. Because our lawsuit is so epic. And it's already begun. So, you know, angry, you know, maybe it'll make you feel better. Now, I don't even think it makes you feel better. But document. If you're watching and if you learn anything from this, it is that you're going to have to do the investigation. Well, it was Marlon Soto that told us, with others, that we had to investigate ourselves. Otherwise, they couldn't help us. Yeah. Yep. And he said a lot more and a lot more. And he protected people that are the prime suspects, the killers in our son's case. And he lied. I just can't even tell you how much he lied. And, you know, I don't know. I don't know how he even lives with himself, how he sleeps, how he can face his children. I don't know. I don't know. Because the level of crime that he committed as a Fort Bliss CID agent, um, it is deserving of the death penalty. That's how bad it is. And with the connection like Judge Marlene Gonzalez, and all of what that entails, it's like one big domino push, right? And what that leads to is it's so corrupt, it's so seditious, it's so un-American, you know. And here he was in the military, and Marlene Gonzalez is a judge. They are so ungrateful. They are just the rottenest people. And when you find out more about this Judge Marlene, um, sh- because she's over children, she's over divorces, marriage, and all that, and she's, you know, rules with all of these unaccompanied children. They put her in this position of unaccompanied children. And she can't even, let's just say, Richard is a stellar son. I don't think that Marlene has that. No. The character is plain to see. The values or lack thereof are plain to see. The connections, when you look, they're plain to see. And it was, we already had enough on Marlon Soto Hernandez. But to have extra, to have extra evidence, to have super damning extra evidence, and I don't know if I'm exactly at liberty to say, but it has to do with Judge Marlene Gonzalez. And when you have extra, and it is as bad as this, and it's as bad for her as it is for Marlon. And of course, it has to do with the Hart family, right? The Nuusas, Tavita Nuusa, his CID. Well, Marlon Soto was the special agent in charge of the Fort Bliss CID office, and Tavita Nuusa worked under him. And he did not initiate an internal affairs when Judge Roger Rodriguez exposed that Tavita Nuusa had been leaking Richard's file. Maybe Soto had a part in that, right? Maybe Soto had a part in that. And I know in front of my own eyes, I saw it in front of my own eyes that he covered 4 people that were leaking. He covered for people in the CID that were leaking, that had information, that were in Richard's chain of command. And not only was it in front of me and my husband and our witnesses that we brought to the meeting, 15 plus agencies were sitting by watching. Our lawsuit it is. Our lawsuit is epic. Can you imagine 15 plus agencies like ATF, the sheriffs, the FBI, the DPS, the DHS, 15 plus agencies sitting there in that meeting in front of two generals, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, Lieutenant General, the provost general, Donna Martin, watching CID special agent in charge of the Fort Bliss office protect the very people that were leaking and are the prime suspects in the murder, the Fort Bliss murder of a whistleblower soldier, of the whistleblower soldier, Richard Halliday, right in front of everybody? Marlon Soto needs to face the death penalty. There needs to be quite a few that need to face the death penalty. The hours of lies, because I spent hours on the phone with him, the hours of lies, of misdirection, of a smear campaign of our son, seditious conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and all to move him out of the way, get rid of Richard, a distinguished honor graduate that was a witness to President Trump of their seditious conspiracy against President Trump. That's why they silenced Richard, because they really were trying to silence President Trump, and Richard was standing in the way. And today, we woke up with such great news that President Trump's administration won an appeal. The DHS won an appeal with Judge Brosberg. I hope I say that name right. Brosberg. So now that President Trump's DHS can absolutely do whatever it takes on that border to get accountability and to find our son's remains, to get absolutely the leverage to get our son's remains back from Mexico. But I mean, it entails so much. This victory was huge, absolutely huge. So I'll show you Marlene Gonzalez's image. This is Judge Marlene Gonzalez. And of course, here's Soto. Here's Soto. That's good. And of course, here is the prime suspect, Dallas Hart, and his mother, Leilani Hart, and Tavita Nuusa, the CID agent that he was supposed to be leading, right? Excuse me. Wowzer. if you learn anything, don't get angry. Stay very calm and start documenting. Record everything, document everything, and then start building your email and address database and start filing. Start filing. That is what they try to prevent. They try to silence people. They dumb us down so that we can't write all these letters and file them and know where to file them. But we have great tools today to really help us. Use them. Because this is how they hurt us. They take over our CID, they take over our judicial system. And these are, look, Marlene Gonzalez has no place at all in that robe over marriage, families, and children. She is toxic. She is toxic and an enemy, a total enemy, and in total cahoots of protecting the CJNG cartel pipeline. Yes. Because if she did what she did, that's what she's doing. And she's doing it as a judge. And the only way we can take back our country and our judicial system, which we need a judicial system. I mean, the church could help, right? Because they are a different jurisdiction. We have a separation of church and state, and the church could be tough on crime, but they're not. They're weak on crime. And that's why President Trump called them out, because they could absolutely take some of this slack, some of this problem that we have in our judicial system and deal with it. Deal with some of these crimes the way the church should deal with the crimes. And they're not, because they are afraid of losing their 501c3. That's why we need to take down the IRS. We can't have an income tax. We can't have an IRS because it hurts justice. Because the churches are bullied by individuals that will report them if they get tough on crime. And so that's why they're weak on crime. It's called the 501c3. And it's very evil. Very evil. But so then we have a church that's weak on crime and a state that's weak on crime. And the state is infiltrated by the likes of Marlon Soto, by the likes of Marlene Gonzalez. And when you start learning about them, you have to get control of your emotions because it's pretty infuriating. But you just document and you file and you don't stand for it. You just don't stand for it. They cannot be in our uniforms. They cannot be in our robes. They need to be facing jail or the death penalty. because the amount of people that they hurt, think about what Leilani Hart was reporting on. All kinds of fraud, all kinds of sexual abuse against children, sexual exploitation in our own family, incest. I mean, think about it. Illegal possession of the worst type of films of children, having weapons that are not registered or illegal. I mean, to cover for that, to lie about a whistleblower that is reporting on the cartel activities within Fort Bliss, and to cover for that. And don't forget Dania Gonzalez and Brice. Marlon Soto didn't even care to even pretend. He did not even interview. It took me like a month talking to him to get him to interview Danae Katzen. And now I know why he didn't care. He knew our son was gone, and he knew what Danae Katzen was, who she belonged to, because he was one of them too. He's very dirty, y'all. Very, very dirty. Thank you for coming on, Laura. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on. I hope y'all take Connell Wenton out of the FBI. Well, Connell Wenton and now Jared Brown. And I can confirm that is a Mormon faction. This is a Mormon faction. This is a Mormon faction. And of course, Connell Wenton was there at the time and absolutely protected, didn't do his job, protected the very despicable crime that Marlon Soto was committing. The FBI was there at that meeting. They watched Marlon Soto protect leakers. And in this case, the very prime suspects. Oh, yeah. It was what they have done. What they did to Richard was an act of war, and that includes the whole cover up. Yeah. So here he is. This is Jerry Brown right here. Jared Brown. This is definitely the Mormon faction. Yeah, this was breaking news day. So much has happened today. I almost forgot about this. And this this is huge. This is bombshell. But we have bombshell every day, all day long. Bombshell from the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. What's the bombshell? That an assistant DA has confirmed that revealed is a good word, that James Bonneau Montoya is not worried about being prosecuted. He's not worried about being prosecuted because the game is rigged. He's got protection from Jared Brown. I wonder who he's related to, that Jared Brown. Yeah. But this, so what say you, Jared Brown? I mean, really? I mean, this, you have an assistant district attorney in the very office of this impersonator, this holding the DA's office hostage because you're not supposed to have an empty seat, right? An empty seat, no prosecutor. But El Paso has had no prosecutor for years because there is no legitimate prosecutor that has installed properly. They don't install properly because they don't want to sign that anti bribe line. What does that tell you? That tells you that they're afraid of people looking into if they were bribed or not. And that would be, they could be held accountable. This way, they don't sign the form, they're not held accountable. But the problem is that the Texas Constitution says they cannot take that office unless they sign the anti-bribe line first and then take the oath, and then you can be in your elected or appointed position as a district attorney. Exactly. Who is related to who and who is married to who? James Montoya is like Connell Wetton. They are very sure everything will be okay, and everything is not going to be okay. It's not going to be okay. I mean, what a jerk to say that he's not worried. He's not worried about his 2028 stamp. He's not worried about an investor and an investigator that is no longer alive. He's not worried about the same documents, different versions of them. All this tampering, all these problems in the judicial system. He's not worried about that. His own crimes. Because Jared Brown is protecting him. And this is all on taxpayer dime. Taxpayers are paying for Jared Brown. Taxpayers are paying for James Bonneau Montoya. Taxpayers are paying for Connell Wetton. I think we have a little power here. Instead of throwing our hands up and giving up and thinking we have no power, they work for us. They absolutely work for us. And if there's enough of us that realizes that and will document what they're doing and have the patience, and you got to break through all of the corruption, right? So you have to file. Every file is a pounding of that corruption, and we've weakened it a lot. So now is the time. We have absolutely cracked through. And we are getting so much great feedback from El Paso. Keep going, keep going, keep going. We're almost there. They want their city back. They do not want the deck plaza that they call the debt plaza because El Paso has too much debt right now. It's not a good time for a new project, whether you like it or not. People are paying too much property tax, and there's too much debt. It's not needed. What's needed is this is what I'm hearing, okay? The infrastructure needs to be taken care of. It's not being taken care of. The roads are pretty bad. So, we don't, they don't want to be funding these narco philanthropists and their little pet projects. Yes, Montoya really botched the Walmart case. Absolutely. He botched Richard's case. And now today, out of the White House, they called out Barack Obama for the way he handled this false narrative around President Trump with the Russia gate, right? The Russia gate, and what that means, what he did, and all the resources that it took to fight that. How much money that took, the taxpayers' money, for false information, for absolutely just a campaign strategy against President Trump, of course. So everything is being revealed right now, and I'm see if I forgot anything else, because today as well the game is rigged, is really, but we're going to be too big to rig. Okay, our lawsuit is too big to rig. It's epic. Yeah, so here is Boasberg, and President Trump has won, and I really, it's such a huge breakthrough, and I hope that you read through this, because it gives us tremendous leverage. And they can do targeted raids now on the El Paso cartels, the fuel, the auto, the funeral homes, the logistics. Yeah, they can absolutely purge compromised officials. I think they need to purge. I think the number one on my list, well, I don't know if it's my number one, but one I can think of really quickly, is Veronica Escobar's husband, Judge Pleaders. Why is he still there? He shouldn't be there. Because that hurts so many people. Yeah, lots of good feedback on my posts about Richard, which is really important, because it proves that what his chain of command was doing was a smear campaign. Clearly, it was a campaign to discredit a whistleblower, to discredit the witness. And that's what they were doing. And they weaponized the military, UCMJ, to do that to Richard. And remember, Jag told us in that meeting, that same meeting, and we had several, but it seemed that was an important meeting with the 15 plus agencies, is that Richard was threatened with 6 years in prison. Yeah. That's how far it went. They wanted to silence him so bad. And I called them out for that. Rob called them out during the meeting for that one, boy. It was a beautiful sight, because Richard is a stellar soldier, and this was a absolute attack on a stellar soldier and a smear campaign. The weaponization of their tools to protect CJNG cartel pipeline and the contracts the military contracts. That has a lot to do with this. And so they're really looking also in the face of the death penalty, seditious conspiracy, 20 years, and then for obstruction, 20 years, life in prison, life in prison. So either one, the death penalty or life in prison. Please talk about the Purchase family having other funeral homes through Texas. Yeah, well, we know that Purchase Funeral Home is absolutely connected to the funeral homes that were used in Juarez, many of them, over eight of them, part of this whole Plenitude crematorium. And we know that that crossed the border. We know that that crossed the border. And I know quite a bit about Salvador Purchase. And I know quite a bit about Rosa Maria Purchase Arellano Curon. And, you know, there's so much investigating going on, and people are watching that are part of their groups. And so, you know, this is a chess game. This is you know, and I don't know for a master class like President Trump. President Trump is just a master class at really exposing the criminals, really exposing the criminals. I mean, Tucker Carlson is way down, way down. That means people are investigating. That's what that means. But yes, so you know, Purchase Funeral Homes, very involved in the Walmart mass shooting case. We know involved in a bad way, and they say, oh, but we're so benevolent, we want to give free service or whatever. But that is all a show. Even though that is a front, that's a front. But what they're really doing behind the scenes is really, really bad. Really bad. Because we know that the autopsies were messed up. We know that the Walmart victim shooting fund was distributed to individuals that did not qualify for those funds. And so, yeah, the lawsuit is going to be epic, and it's absolutely going to address the Plenitude crematorium. That's like number one, which is, you know, also Del Carmen, right? And the funeral homes that connect to the Corones and Purchase, absolutely, and Bill Hicks, because Bill Hicks was the lawyer, is the lawyer for Salvador Purchase and his funeral homes. I don't know if y'all knew that, but yeah, Bill Hicks. That's why they put Bill Hicks in as a DA, and he didn't. He was a usurper, right? He didn't install properly, and he has a lot to worry about. He's a really key figure in this because his hands are all over the fraud when it comes to those funeral homes. So, yeah. But this whole thing with Marlene Gonzalez is very important for people to know too, because she handles families and divorces, and that means children and unaccompanied children. How in the heck did they put her, the likes of a creepy person like her, in that position? And totally criminal. The lady is totally criminal. I don't know if I can call her lady. The monster is totally criminal. So, and I'm being very kind. And there's a record. She has a record of others that were brave enough to complain, to report her. So, and that's why I really want to stress that today, because if people have been hurt by her, they need to know that there are a lot of complaints out there and things happening behind the scenes. So you're not alone. So use the tools that are given right now to document how you've been hurt, and absolutely submit it, file it. Yeah. It's and disclaimer, it's always a risk. To do the right thing is always a risk. But to let these people continue hurting others, in our book, it's not an option. What they put us through, the hell they put us through, it's not an option. And Marlon Soto, oh my gosh, his lies. How can, I mean, heartless, absolutely heartless. So we need to have accountability. 100%. And things are lining up really well. Really well. So thank you so much, everybody. And we will be back. Let me see. James Montoya is like Connell Wetton. Yeah. And Marlon Soto is like Connell Wetton. Absolutely. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.